We are so back. Sixers get rolled 124-109. Talking reaction, top takeaways, much more. Joining me, he is Sean Bernard of Sixers Digest, Fox Sports, The Gambler. List goes on and on. Pick Swap Media. What's going on, Sean?
Yeah, what's going on, man? At least we have some actual real basketball that matters to talk about. Not exactly how I think we each envisioned the season to get off. No Joel Embiid, no Paul George, but you know what? We got a game in front of us, so I'm excited to talk about it. I don't think it is all bad, despite a lot of sounding the alarm on social media that I'm kind of surprised by how strong the reaction seems to be. You're going to have to wipe this one washed away. There's better days ahead for the Sixers team.
I'm not even remotely close to that. I thought there were much more positive signs in this one. The negatives, no Paul George and Joel Embiid, but you got guys playing out of position. There were some positives. We're gonna break down each one. Let's just do like a quick reaction and takeaway before we get into the best plays of the game. Go ahead, Sean. Lead us off, man. Quick reaction.
I guess I'll say like my biggest positive takeaway. I do think there's the right role players on this team. And I think that we've fought that forever. There's some dogs. There's some guys that do a lot of different things. I thought Caleb Martin especially looked really good. Gershon Yabusele looks like he's going to be able to step up, play some real deal minutes. Kyle Lowry looked like he still has a pulse and can play a little bit of basketball. So I was pretty impressed with kind of the role guys. As you mentioned, everybody playing out of their role and a little bit too much on their plate for expectations. But I was really impressed with a lot of these connective pieces that will settle into their actual role once the team is fully constructed.
I thought they fought, man. I thought this team, and I know they got beat pretty bad here, but the shots just wasn't falling. Whereas Dame came in the second half and just lit it up from three. The Sixers weren't hitting their shots. And we'll get into offensive and defensive takeaways, but I thought they fought. I thought there were parts of this game when they were rebounding really well. I think they had 17 offensive boards, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So for me, there was parts of this game there they could have pushed it to be a closer game. But let's jump into top plays of this one, a new segment we're going to do here every night. Let me turn the volume off. You can see that? You can see that. All right, sweet. All right, so top plays of the game, leading off with Tyrese Maxey, who kind of struggled in this one. Good and bad. Looked really good in parts. I think he was forcing it just a little too much. That was the first basket of the game. Nice little pull up 3-pointer there. What was your thoughts on Tyrese Maxey's game?
Yeah, I think he definitely forced it a little bit. That was obviously intentional and kind of by default for how this team is, that he's really the only like true creator that this roster has when there is no Paul George and Joel Embiid. He still is the worst whistle in the league, man. It's really frustrating. Like some of these attacks at the basket, I don't know what more he can do. Like, and he was really frustrated after one. He ended up getting called for a travel on, and rightfully so. That like, I get like he's not going to get a superstar whistle yet or be handed free throw attempts like some other guys will, but it's really frustrated me. I thought he earned it more times than not. And I do think things fell apart a little bit because of that. Thought he forced some shots, but I would rather him do that. Shoot through it. Let's figure it out. Let's get through it. So I don't have a ton of like bigger picture takeaways from Maxey today, but I like that he fought. I like that he tried to be the engine of the offense, and the whistle really frustrated me tonight.
Me too, man. I don't understand why the league hates this guy. This is the time he should be getting the whistles, quite frankly. And that's a huge part of his game that needs to unlock if he wants to be like an all-NBA player. Get to the line more, kind of be that, not calling him Jalen Brunson or comparing him, but that's what we want. At least a few more attempts per game. We got Daniel in the house. Marshawn saying, watching highlights of a game where this team gets blown out is the worst kind of trauma. Come on, man. Expectations. Let's
for the free throw conversation, like what can he do about it, do you think?
I don't know.
I know. That's kind of where I'm at. That like he even
like more? I don't know.
Sell it.
He's not like Giannis is like his shoulders are like he's like a god. Like his elbow game is just unstoppable. Like you can't defend him. And it almost felt like it was illegal to actually try and defend him, as we saw Caleb Martin do and KJ Martin do several times in this one. And the refs still call it.
You see Oubre's impression of it?
No.
I'm gonna send that to you on Twitter right now. I tweeted a video. Somebody captured it, so I've tweeted that video of it out. But pretty funny of him explaining it to the refs here. So I'm sending that your way on Twitter right now. This one's worth pulling up. Just send that your way. But yeah, at least Kelly always keeps things entertaining, man. Like this was middle of the game that he's doing this, and I very much appreciate it. But that is Giannis's way that he attacks.
Yeah, that's what he does, and he's unstoppable. It's like a linebacker, 7-foot linebacker. Marshawn says we lost to Glen Rivers again. All he does is elbow people. Tyrese won Sportsmanship Award last year. Of course, his whistle was horrid. But going back to Tyrese Maxey, I did think he was forcing it. I did think he was just throwing things up instead of setting up his teammates. And it's understandable. There's nobody that can create off the dribble. And I think a big part of Maxey's game is Nick Nurse getting him more off ball. It's just not going to happen tonight in this kind of situation. But this is what we're going to be dealing with, Sean. We're going to get a lot of Maxey games. I just want to see a little more playmaking from Maxey. And I just thought he was rushing a little bit.
Yeah, and they're talking about it in the post game right now. This being from our guy Zach Chavalella out here. This is Nick Nurse on Tyrese Maxey drawing fouls. Quote, I don't know how. I think we went through this some last year where he's driving and it seems like he's getting bumped pretty hard initially on the boom and then again on the shot. For whatever reason, it doesn't seem like he gets them. That's what's happening, man. It's frustrating. Really is.
I don't get it. Yeah, all Giannis does is lower his shoulder and bring the boom, whereas Maxey will dribble, contested fadeaway jumper, crossover, flurry of moves, and then gets hit at the rim and there's still nothing.
Yeah.
It's wild, man. Let's keep it rolling. So some of these plays. This is the dog that I love about Caleb Martin, offensive board. The first quarter was awesome, man. They played hard. Nice little board and dish to Kelly Oubre, who looked unbelievable getting downhill in this one. Just athleticism is just off the charts. Next one, I think this is Gershon Yabusele hitting a first catch and shoot 3 from the corner. Money.
That rocked.
Yeah, man. There's good and bad. I think Gershon Yabusele is going to be the new Kelly Oubre, where you're gonna live and die with the good and the bad. For me, I don't like him as a small ball 5. I don't, and I like the fit with Embiid and all this kind of stuff, but not when he's the only guy out there and the rim protection is going to be bad.
Yeah, and I think to take it a step forward there is I was encouraged by tonight that we did see a little bit more of him at the 4. That really didn't happen pretty much at all in preseason. Very limited minutes that he mostly played as a backup 5 for a lot of the preseason minutes. So I was encouraged that we did see him at the power forward. I was encouraged by the jump shot that he looked confident in it. He obviously knocked down that first one. A feel-good moment for him is that's his first NBA bucket since the 2018-19 season. And I do think the guy can play, man. I thought he did a pretty nice job matching up with Giannis. He obviously fouled out, and the fouls are going to be probably a recurring issue with Yabu there. But those are things that you live with on a minimum signing and a guy that's figuring things out at the NBA level. So overall, still very encouraged by what we got from Yabusele tonight. So I'll take it.
Yeah, more positives than negatives. Yeah. I do think Milwaukee was taking advantage of him just a little bit, abusing him, forcing him to come up on those high screens and just leaving the lane wide open. That's just my fear. And that's going to be my fear going forward if that's going to be his role. Let's roll on some more plays. Gershon. I still love him. I'm all in on Gershon Yabusele. Here was Maxey's bucket. Nice little crossover there at the end of the first half. There's a lot of that by Maxey. I thought Gary Trent Jr. did a terrific job defending Maxey tonight, man. He was all over him, man.
He's gonna be a pest. He that's who Gary Trent Jr. is at this point. He's an awesome player that's been wasted on some pretty bad teams of late. So I guess good for him for joining a contender like the Milwaukee Bucks, if you want to throw them in that category there. He did a nice job on Maxey. I thought Maxey did a nice job of shaking him off from face guarding him, particularly in that first half. I thought Trent made an effort to deny the ball, and Maxey ended up overcoming that. So I thought that was a good moment and look for Maxey and kind of that little battle there. But it's good to see him get tested, and obviously a hat tip to Gary Trent. He was a huge part of Maxey's struggles for sure.
I wanted Gary Trent on the Sixers so bad, man.
Yeah,
he's legit. And that was some of his negatives was his defense. I thought he was very solid tonight. For a big part of this game, like the Bucks role players were killing the Sixers, like Bobby Portis and Torian Prince and Gary Trent, guys like that. It was for the most part until like the third quarter happened and Dame just went off.
By the way, this struck me during the game today. What do you think of Bobby Portis as a potential Gershon Yabusele model the game a little bit?
I love that idea. I've always been a big Bobby Portis guy. The dude's got the biggest eyes in the NBA.
Yeah, he does.
I love Bobby. I would, that's always been one of my favorite like trade targets for a long time for the Sixers. But I like the idea. There were a couple times when Yabusele, don't hesitate, shoot the three. But outside of that, I'm all in. I'm all in on that. I don't know if he has that potential. Like, I don't know if he has that. I don't know yet. I need to see more from Yabusele.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's totally fair. But that did strike me today as I was watching. I was like, that's not a bad lane for him to try and walk down and kind of develop into. I don't think we truly have the answer for who he is as an NBA player yet, which is day one. So game one of the season, we don't have to just yet.
Yeah. Here, I think, is a floater from Maxey.
I like the floater making a comeback, by the way. He went to it a lot tonight.
Yeah. I love I want to see more mid-range from Maxey too. The one he had in that first quarter, I couldn't get the clip. But it was a nice little fadeaway on the baseline from mid-range. Very nice. Let's keep rolling. What else do we got? Oh, here you go, Sean.
Moment of the game.
Jared McCain getting his first NBA bucket. Little pull up from the free throw line. Gotta love it.
Boner ready for the finish. If he missed it, love it.
All right, so those are some of the top plays. Anything else you want to bring up before we roll into offensive takeaways?
I guess I could kind of lump it in a little bit to the offensive takeaways. I just want to highlight the 17 offensive rebounds. For me, that is far more than a footnote. That I'm not confident we saw that like the entire season last year. And beyond just like the numbers, like you could feel the impact. Like these guys were seeking out, trying to create additional opportunities, not just Andre Drummond, but Caleb Martin, KJ Martin, we haven't even talked about yet, who I thought played solid. He's KJ Martin. We know who he is at this point. But you know what? Like I think he can fill that role. So that the offensive rebounding, I do think is like a real deal long-term takeaway that I was really encouraged by tonight.
Yeah, and just piggybacking off of your take, like I do think this team has legit role players once Paul George especially comes back. Between Yabu and KJ and Caleb and Oubre and Lowry to a certain degree, like I do think there is a lot of potential and upside when it comes to lineup combinations this team is going to be able to put out there. So I'm excited to see that. What did you think of Caleb? Real quick on Caleb, like I feel like that guy is going to be so awesome once this team is full strength. Like that guy, as we saw in the preseason, is the epitome of doing all the little things on the basketball court.
Yeah, absolutely there. You nailed that. And that's who he's been his entire basketball career, which is really cool that like that's his identity basically. I thought it was cool pregame Nick Nurse highlighting that when he announced the lineup that he'd be coming off the bench, he kind of had a footnote to it and it was basically like, don't get it confused though. Like Caleb Martin's absolutely one of the 5 best players on this team and will be playing starters minutes. So it's clear that they're staggering the minutes a little bit there. As you mentioned, this roster is not fully constructed and we'll see what the decisions that are made when Paul George and Joel Embiid are back. But this dude's going to win the Sixers team some playoff games, man. He's the dude that like is the straw that stirs the drink as far as making the right defensive rotation, getting that loose ball that the team absolutely needs. And even defensively, I thought he was pretty good tonight. He got overpowered by Giannis a couple times, which is going to happen when you're just that much smaller than him. But he fought, he battled, and that's who Caleb Martin is. So overall, I was really encouraged by his game tonight. I was satisfied with it.
Yep. All right, let's roll on to our top offensive takeaways from the game. Game 1 in the books, Sean. It's going to be a long season. I think we're going to learn a lot about Tyrese Maxey this season for good. I'm not necessarily so sure how much this team is built around Tyrese Maxey. I don't really like what I saw out of Eric Gordon. He looks slow, man. I I'll be honest, he looks chunky. He looked better in the preseason, at least on my end, and maybe that's because of the way the Bucks are built. But what was some of your offensive takeaways?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that on Eric Gordon at all. I was definitely underwhelmed by what I saw tonight. He is strong. Like I would properly, I guess, be a little nice and describe him more strong than chunky there. But I definitely hear you with that. I don't think this is a matchup that he shined in. I'm looking at the 3-point line for the biggest takeaway tonight. That I think they could use a real deal sniper. I don't think Eric Gordon is quite that. I think Jared McCain could potentially be. But just looking at the results tonight, the Milwaukee Bucks shot 16 of 37, so 43.2%. The Sixers were 8 for 31, 25.8% there. And it was worse than that for a good portion of this game. They were 3 for 21 at one point, and then I guess it evened out at the end there a little bit. But when it's 43% to 25% from three, the unfortunate reality of the modern NBA is that basically decides games. And I think the Sixers felt that tonight. That kind of separation happened in that second and third quarter. So the 3-point shooting for me, you got to get better looks. That it felt like a lot of either maxi step backs or whatever the case. Let's get some spot up corner 3-pointers. If we can knock those down at a decent rate, I think it changes things. But I think the game was primarily lost beyond the arc tonight. And Dame Lillard, by the way, was on one.
He was nuts, man.
Yeah.
That was really the difference, I thought. Those threes he made in that third quarter, pulling up the shot chart for the second half, at least from the offense. Dude, do you know what they shot from three between the second, third, and fourth quarters, the Sixers?
What's that?
6 of 24.
Oof. Yeah.
I mean, they just couldn't hit shots.
Do it. Yeah.
They just couldn't hit shots. And I thought that was one of the biggest differences in this game. Any other takeaways offensively? I'll go. I do want to say I like the energy I saw at some parts. There was times last year where this team was dead in the water. Like I felt they were rebounding hard, they were playing hard. Obviously, they have a completely new group, but I just offensively, I want to see this offense click a little more with Maxey kind of finding others, looking for others versus, throwing shots off the backboard.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit underwhelmed on his kind of willingness or desire to be a playmaker in this game. He was clearly in attack mode. And again, I get it. I'm not going to fault him too much for that because this is just kind of the situation of the team. I know I'm already a little bit of the Jared McCain apologist here, but I would have thrown him in sooner just from the standpoint of he's another guy that can do multiple things, that he can dribble the ball, take guys, create a little bit. I think they were missing some of that throughout this game. Even Ricky Council IV, I thought, should have probably kicked the boots off on that and given him a run a little bit earlier. So I thought they were a little bit too gun shy for going with the young guys to mix things up when it felt like throughout like that entire third quarter, the team desperately needed a spark like that. So I would have done that a little sooner.
I felt like he got owned by Brook Lopez. Like there's at least a few times where he went right at Brook Lopez and lost every single one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I watch him play, man, Brook Lopez is just like the best basketball player ever. It's unbelievable.
All right, let's get to our top takeaways on defense. All right, we saw some zone tonight. I thought the Sixers were getting kind of cooked on a lot of backdoor cuts. What was your take on the defense?
Yeah, my take was going to be let's simplify things a little bit. I know one of like the calling cards of Nick Nurse are this deep bag of tricks that he does have. I thought they'd try to do a little too much for a lot of tonight's game with those zones, with the switches. There was the one play where they came out of the timeout. They clearly went into full court press, and it just led to like an immediate layup down there that it's like, yeah. I think we're doing a little bit too much right now. I appreciate the principles. This is stuff that the Sixers team should be able to reach throughout the season. But in night one, when you're a little bit depleted, I thought they were trying to do a little bit too much. So I think Nick Nurse overthought things a little bit on the defensive end tonight. I
agree, too. I thought they were a little over-aggressive, and that kind of led to a lot of like easy layups for the Bucks.
Yeah.
It's what it is. I thought they were just getting crazy frustrated with Giannis and the refs and all that kind of stuff. And it bit him in the ass when Dame started to hit from Steph Curry land.
Yeah.
I really don't have anything else on defense. Like that was other than Bobby Portis just cooking them on the perimeter and things like that. That's all I got.
Yeah, I'm not their calling card or not the standard that should be set there, but the bottom line is like I'm not going to hang too much of a concern after tonight. We're not going to do the full tread water for the season until Joel Embiid and Paul George are back, because obviously like they're going to have to figure out how to survive without these guys as well. But the Bucks are a solid team, man. Like this was not like a walk in the park game, and shout out to Milwaukee that they took care of business. Damian Lillard, I will say, like I had more or less written him off to this point, that I wasn't confident that he could regain the form that we used to see from him. He kind of made me eat that tonight, and that's the best basketball that I've seen him play in at least a year. So shout out to Dame, and we'll see if that continues there.
I thought this was just an overall very good game from the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
From a shooting perspective, from a defensive standpoint, overall really, really solid. Let's get to our last segment. Oh, no, we have player of the game. Almost forgot about our Sixers player of the game, if I could even find it. There it is. Player of the game, Sean. Who are you going with?
Yeah, I like that intro. That might be my favorite one that you've made there. For my player of the game, I'm giving it to Kelly Oubre Jr. here.
Nice.
I love Kelly, man. I still have my concerns that he might step out of his lane a little bit throughout the season, but finished tonight with 21 points. He was a -20, which, take that with a grain of salt a little bit there. But I thought he was excellent the way that he attacked the basket. And as much as Brook Lopez gave just about everyone on his team issues, I thought Kelly did a nice job of avoiding him. There was one smooth with the right hand where he kind of took it at him and shifted, finishing around him. That's when he's at his best, is when he has rim pressure, when he's attacking the rim, using his athleticism. Kelly was a necessary spark for this team throughout this game. Hit a bunch of shots where it felt like the team was just kind of flailing and had nothing. So not on him, the loss tonight. I'm glad he's back in a Sixers uniform, and I'll give him my player of the game tonight.
I'm going Caleb Martin.
Nice.
I'm just in love with his game. He only had 12 points. He only took 1 3-pointer in this one, which is shocking. 5 of 10 from the floor. But he did have 4 offensive boards, 3 assists. He did have 3 turnovers. He had a block. The dude just hustles, man. He hustles. His basketball IQ is off the charts. Again, going to be really solid once this team is full strength. Dude was diving on the court for every single loose ball, way more than Tobias did the last 6 years. So give me Caleb Martin as my player of the game. Let's wrap this thing up. Let's get to Sixers game in 3 words or less. Sixers in 3 words. Sixers versus Bucks in 3 words or less. Sean, do you have anything yet?
Get healthy, please. 3 words right there. That was really my takeaway from tonight. Is I see the framework of what this can be. This can be a damn good basketball team once 2 top 25 players in the NBA step back and join this. So I understand not exactly about the game if I'm twisting the rules a little bit. But that's my 3 words for tonight.
I'll go slow down Tyrese.
Okay, I like it.
Again, there were a lot of positives from Tyrese Maxey. He had some crazy acrobatic finishes. I just need to see more of that change of pace play style. I think the floor is going to open up more when Paul George and Joel Embiid get here. But man, he needs to get into rhythm, and I feel like he really struggled in this one. And it's really going to be tough because I do want to see him more off ball, and I don't think we're going to get a lot of those opportunities with Paul George and Embiid not on the court. I don't even know what they would do with that. I guess more Lowry, for better or worse. Who knows? Or maybe Jared McCain. Who knows? Just let it rip.
Yeah.
All right. That wraps it up, Sean. Where can we find you? Final thoughts on this one? Plugs, time's yours.
Yeah, and I did just check out the number here. That was 6 blocks tonight for Brook Lopez. So, yikes, man. Yeah. As far as for me, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Sean_Bernard1. Check out Sixers Digest. I'll have my full thoughts coming out about all the Joel Embiid knee drama investigation, etc. All those talking points. So going to be diving into that immediately after this. Also ripping out some Phillies content with Luke Arcani after this. So make sure to check out Phillies Digest as well. And as always, can catch me on Fox Sports The Gambler. Saturday 11 to 2 should be pretty lively because me and Mark Henry Jr. do not see eye to eye on the Joel Embiid situation whatsoever. So excited to fully rip the Band-Aid and talk about that one.
I just roll my eyes at all of it. I think it's so ridiculous. And like, it's freaking October. It's game 1. Like, you rip Embiid for not playing game 1, and then you rip him for not trying to stay healthy. Like, there's no winning in this whatsoever. Jesus. I get my co-host Rob has got a rant on that too. I just couldn't be further away from his stance on that. Here's Kelly Oubre that the video you sent me. Oh,
I do love him, man.
I feel like I need to put like some sort of like music behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was what immediately popped in my head when I saw it. It's like, oh, this is one for the archives here. This can be broken out again.
That's hilarious, man. I love Kelly.
That's now 2 amazing ref moments with Kelly Oubre. I love it.
All right, guys. Thank you everyone for watching. One last time. He is Sean_Bernard1 on X. Amazing Sixers, Phillies. You name it, follow on X. Go check out Fox Sports The Gambler Saturdays at 11 and Sixers Digest and Phillies Digest for everything Sixers and Phillies. I am Dibs. He is Sean. Stay awesome, everyone.